In this video, we're going to continue to talk about Corona render in Cinema 4D. We're going to explore the cameras, so how we can create cameras and also how we can generate some realistic camera effects, like for example the depth of field or the motion blur. So we're basically gonna do some cameras some render using cameras for animation and for still images. So we could say photo camera and video cameras. So in the previous video we saw how we can create different effects like the volumetric light effect or the fog, the mist, things that usually are decided in pre-production, but we also saw how we can manage lights and post-productions effects and how we can add and change some of the effects that you see here. So how you can work basically with the render elements or with various render layers in the final render. So in this video we're going to continue to talk about this final part of the course. So we're going to start here with one initial setting. We are gonna go into the Corona camera and start to set up our views. Just like in Cinema 4D cameras, you can here use the cameras in Corona to set up your views in order that you can always go back to that particular view. Actually, if you see here in the objects panel, they are basically the same cameras that you use in Cinema 4D, but with an extra tag there on the right, which is from Corona. So we can call this first one here still camera or still render, or you can call it the name of the room or whatever you want. Okay, you can see here I have created 4 right away. So I created 4 cameras that I will use to create different views. Now if you want to move into a camera, you can click on that A, just like you do in Cinema 4D. And if you don't know these tools, you can also check our Cinema 4D video course in the channel. So you can now get inside a camera and move with the navigation tools, so orbit, pan, and zoom, and you can manage the position and the point of view of your camera. So just remember that when the aim is active, when the aim is white, you are actually inside the camera and you are actually transforming the position, rotation of the camera. When you are outside, you can see the camera from the outside. So right now I'm trying to fix all the different views here for the various cameras that I have created, and I want to create a camera for the depth of field, so the focus and autofocus effect. I want to create also a camera that I want to animate, and another camera here for the general look of my bedroom or my room. And also if you go here in the tag, we can start to see what we have in addition to what we already have in Cinema 4D cameras. So you can see here that in Corona camera we have a list of parameters. Always remember that everything can be animated, first of all, everything that has a little circle on the left. And you can see here we have exposure, we have vignette, we have tone mapping, we have ISO, and other realistic parameters that you usually find in real life. So just as we said before, vignette, it's also an effect that you have in real life, for example. And again, you have bloom and glare. So you can manage all those post-production effects that we saw in the previous video, plus other that we will see in this video, like the DOF or depth of field, directly into the Corona camera tag. So just remember that, because we're going to use that to make our various settings. And here I have also a movie camera. Now if you go in Corona, also you have this camera post-processing, and again this is to uh, check the values that you are using. So you can see there that you have some values that are inherited from the cameras. So you can manage the settings also from there. And let's go back here in the camera. So right now we are using the bedroom camera with the parameters that we are using inside this particular camera. So you can see here we are overriding with the override all sorts of things here. So you can see there the depth of field. You can turn it on and off. So be careful, but because when you turn on an effect like the depth of field, then you need to um, set up everything correctly. Otherwise, it will be something strange. But we're going to see how to do that. Now, first of all, let's do some theory here. So if we search for camera ISO, we can start to see some of these settings that occur in real life. So in real life, we have the ISO shutter speed, which is the speed of the shutter of the camera. So the faster is the speed, and the less you're gonna see the motion blur effect. You have all these infographics here that are gonna explain to you how all these effects works, but just remember that motion blur it's related to the shutter speed. So we're talking about animation. You need to create an animation basically, and the ISO it's about the intensity of the light inside the camera, and the f-stops instead is the parameter concerning the depth of field. So the larger is the aperture and the more depth of field you will have, and you have this parameter here which is called f-stop or f number, so or f. So you can see that when it's more open, you're gonna have more depth of field, but also more light coming inside. When you have a closer shutter, there you're gonna have less light and less depth of field. So you need to understand these basics of photography to understand and how to manage the various effects that you're gonna see, and everything is gonna be balanced between these three, especially the exposure or the intensity of the lighting in the camera. So you can go there and override everything with an exposure that you decide, or you can use photographic exposure, which is based on those three settings that we just talked about. So ISO and f-stop, shutter speed. And also don't forget to set up the focused instance. Now the rest here is something that we already saw, like the white balance, when you want to balance the let's say warmer and colder look of your scene. So well, you can find those as well on the web and on any camera in real life. So first of all here I'm gonna adjust, you can see here with these yellow dots, I can adjust the focus of my scene, and I can click on the other ones on the side to adjust this is the field of view.